Most people hear the words living alone after 65 and imagine silence, loss, or decline. But what if that silence isn't emptiness at all? What if it's freedom finally arriving, decades late, but perfectly on time? Picture it, a quiet morning. Soft sunlight slipping through cream-colored curtains. A single cup of coffee steaming on the counter. No rush, no noise, no one to interrupt your thoughts. Just peace, the kind that feels earned, not given. For many older adults in America today, living alone isn't something to fear. It's something to celebrate. It's the first time in decades they get to decide what their days feel like, sound like, and mean. It's not about isolation, it's about being uninterrupted, unhurried, and unapologetically free. And here's what no one tells you. This stage of life, the one so many once dreaded, often becomes the most fulfilling chapter yet. Because the quiet moments you once avoided, they start to heal you. Today, we'll explore 5 hidden joys that only people who live alone after 65 truly understand. The kind of peace, purpose, and strength no one warned you about, but everyone deserves to feel. If you believe independence after 65 is something worth celebrating, hit like and subscribe to Elderly Dose, where aging isn't about endings, it's about evolution. Let's meet June Merriweather, a 74-year-old retired mail carrier from the misty outskirts of Oregon. A woman who spent 40 years walking the same streets, delivering everyone else's stories, before deciding it was time to live her own. After her husband passed away 5 years ago, her family begged her to move closer, for company, for safety, for comfort. But June had a different idea. She bought an old cedar cottage just outside Eugene, restored every beam with her own hands, and filled it with warmth and light. She laughs when people ask if she ever gets lonely. "I keep my porch light on every night," she says, "for all the versions of me that made it this far." Her house hums with quiet life, the faint sound of the radio, the smell of lavender tea, the soft tapping of rain on the window. For June, solitude isn't silence, it's presence. It's hearing her own thoughts again after decades of listening to everyone else's needs. Her children still worry. But June doesn't. She says, "This house isn't empty. It's full of the sound of my second chance." And she's not alone in this truth. Across America, more seniors than ever are discovering what June found, that solitude can be sacred, and that living alone can mean living fully. June's story reveals something quietly revolutionary, that joy doesn't always arrive with company. Sometimes, it comes when you finally meet yourself again. Here are the 5 hidden joys she discovered that changed how she saw life, aging, and her own strength. Hidden joy number 1. The joy of living by your own rhythm. For most of her life, June Merriweather's days ran on someone else's clock. The mail route, her children's school schedule, her husband's doctor appointments, every hour had a name, and none of them were hers. Now, at 74, her time finally belongs to her. She wakes up when sunlight filters softly through her linen curtains, not when an alarm insists. She brews her coffee slowly, humming to herself, the quiet rhythm of the percolator syncing with her own pulse. Breakfast happens when she feels hungry, sometimes at 7 a.m., sometimes at 10. She doesn't rush. She doesn't apologize. "For years, I lived by other people's clocks," June smiles. "Now, I live by my own heartbeat." What she's experiencing isn't just comfort, it's a biological reset. Recent 2025 research from Stanford's Aging Well initiative found that older adults who follow their body's natural circadian rhythm, eating, resting, and waking in tune with their internal clock, report 22% higher emotional satisfaction, 30% better sleep quality, and improved mood stability compared to those who maintain rigid, social schedules. For seniors living alone, this rhythm becomes an art form, a daily dance between energy, light, and intuition. There's no guilt for sleeping in. No judgment for taking a nap in the middle of the day. Instead, it's an ongoing conversation with your body, one that says, "I'm still here, and I'm listening." June calls it her gentle time. "It's not laziness," she says softly. "It's living at the pace that matches my soul." This is the first hidden joy of living alone after 65, the freedom to move through your day like it's your own song. To eat when you're hungry, to rest when you're tired, and to remember that peace doesn't follow a clock, it follows intention. What's your favorite time of day now that you don't have to rush anymore? Tell us in the comments. Maybe it's morning coffee, maybe it's your sunset walk. Hidden joy number 2. The joy of decorating for one. For the first time in decades, June Merriweather decorates without permission. No second opinions. No family debates about neutral colors or keeping it simple. Her home has finally become hers, a reflection of her story, not a chapter she shared with someone else. The walls are painted a soft sea teal, the color of freedom, she laughs. On her mantel sit mason jars filled with wildflowers from her morning walks, dried lavender, and a photo of her younger self smiling at the Grand Canyon. Her living room smells like lemon oil and open windows. The space doesn't feel staged, it feels alive. Every corner reminds me I'm still a person with taste, June says. Not just a caregiver, not just a widow, not just a senior. Me. Living alone after 65 can awaken something many people forget, the right to create beauty for its own sake. Psychologists and interior experts now call this growing trend personal space therapy. In 2025, many older adults across the US are redefining how they see their homes. Instead of leaving rooms untouched after a spouse passes, or keeping guest rooms no one visits, they're transforming their environments into extensions of their identity. Vibrant, expressive, and deeply healing. Clinical studies from the American Society of Geriatric Psychology note that redecorating or reimagining one's personal space improves cognitive stimulation and emotional resilience. It's not vanity, it's vitality. Every object, color, and scent becomes a quiet act of self-definition. June's kitchen is painted in cheerful yellow. The piano room is covered in books she's been meaning to read since 1985. On her porch, she hung a wind chime shaped like a hummingbird, because, she says, I like being reminded that small things can make music, too. Her home is not a museum of memories. It's a living, breathing poem of who she's become. This is one of the hidden joys of living alone after 65, decorating for one, and realizing that's not lonely. It's liberating. It's the moment you stop designing for approval and start designing for joy. If you could change one thing in your home to make it feel more you, what would it be? Paint color? Plants? A cozy reading chair? Tell us in the comments. Your space deserves your story. Hidden joy number 3. The joy of selective company. When you live alone, something remarkable happens. Your social life becomes a choice, not a checklist. You stop filling your calendar just to avoid silence, and start choosing people who make that silence worth breaking. June Merriweather says it best. For most of my life, I said yes to everything. Church potlucks, neighborhood committees, family favors. Now, I say yes only when my heart nods first. Her week is beautifully simple. Every Thursday, she joins her knitting circle at the local library. There's laughter, soft chatter, and the rhythmic click of needles weaving more than yarn, they weave belonging. And every Sunday, she volunteers at the animal shelter, brushing cats and feeding the shy dogs that no one else has the patience for. I don't go there to stay busy, she explains. I go there to stay human. This shift, from obligation to intention, is what many aging experts now call the power of chosen company. According to the AARP 2025 Social Well-Being Report, seniors who build what they call intentional circles, small, meaningful groups of trusted friends or activities, report 31% higher life satisfaction than those surrounded by large but emotionally draining social networks. It's not about the number of people in your life, it's about the energy they bring to it. Living alone teaches you to filter, to say no to gatherings that feel hollow, and yes to the ones that fill your spirit. It's emotional minimalism in action. Less noise, more nourishment. June jokes that she has 3 best friends and a dozen acquaintances who don't know they've been gently fired. She says this with a grin, not out of arrogance, but wisdom. When you stop trying to please everyone, she says, you finally start pleasing yourself. Sociologists call this intentional social aging, the idea that connection, to be meaningful, must be deliberate. And the data agrees. Seniors who choose their company based on shared values and laughter rather than duty experience lower anxiety, better sleep, and stronger immune health. June's advice for anyone newly living alone: keep a small circle, but make it sacred. One honest conversation beats 10 polite ones. Living alone doesn't mean isolation, it means discernment. It's learning that solitude gives you clarity, and clarity gives you the power to love others better, because you no longer lose yourself trying to belong. Do you have a chosen circle, a few people who truly make you feel alive? Share one way you stay connected without feeling drained. Your comment might inspire someone else to find their own circle. Hidden joy number 4, the joy of rediscovering hobbies. There's a certain kind of magic that comes when the world gets quiet, when the house isn't filled with noise, deadlines, or constant requests. For June Merriweather, that silence became fertile ground. She didn't rush to fill it with TV or background chatter. Instead, she stepped outside. Now, every morning after her cup of tea, she walks barefoot into her small backyard garden. Rows of lavender sway gently in the Oregon breeze, and the air smells like calm. She's painted tiny wooden signs for each flowerbed, some with names like hope, patience, and new beginnings. When the house got quiet, June smiles. I finally heard what made me happy. Living alone gave her time, not just empty hours, but creative hours. The kind that let your hands remember things your heart forgot. June found herself painting again, something she hadn't done since her 20s. I used to think hobbies were luxuries, she says, brushing green paint onto a little sign. Now I see their medicine. She's not alone in that realization. Across the United States in 2025, senior centers and libraries have seen what they're calling a creative solitude revival. Participation in art, gardening, and writing workshops for adults over 65 has doubled in the past 2 years, according to the National Institute on Aging. Why? Because hobbies aren't just fun, they literally rewire the aging brain. Studies show that creative engagement improves memory recall, emotional regulation, and even hand-eye coordination. Experts call this purposeful leisure. It's not about passing time, it's about shaping it. When you live alone, your hobbies don't just decorate your day, they define it. June's garden is now her sanctuary. Every bloom feels like a small victory, proof that something beautiful can grow again after loss. These flowers keep me company, she says softly. They don't talk back, but they never leave either. The joy of rediscovering hobbies isn't about staying busy, it's about staying alive inside. It's realizing you still have dreams, talents, and passions waiting for your attention. Living alone gives you permission to explore without judgment, to play without purpose, and to fail without fear. It's funny, June says, wiping her hands on her apron. I used to garden to make things grow. Now, I do it to remind myself that I'm still growing, too. Whether it's painting, music, quilting, writing, or tending a single plant on the windowsill, creativity is how solitude turns into self-expression. It transforms the silence of living alone into a symphony of color, memory, and meaning. What's one hobby you've recently rediscovered or want to try again? Tell us in the comments, you might inspire someone to pick up theirs, too. Hidden joy number 5. The joy of becoming your own companion. There's a point in life, especially after 65, when silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling whole. For June Merriweather, that moment came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. She had just finished tidying her kitchen when one of her favorite songs from the 1970s, "You Are the Sunshine of My Life," came on the radio. She smiled, turned up the volume, and began dancing barefoot across her kitchen floor. Alone, but not lonely. I used to wait for someone to dance with me, June laughs. Now, I just grab myself. That simple joy of being content in your own company is something few people talk about. But for millions of seniors living alone across the US, it's becoming a quiet revolution. Psychologists now refer to this growing trend as self-nurturing independence, the emotional skill of providing your own comfort, validation, and companionship. It's not about isolation. It's about learning that peace doesn't need an audience. June's days are full of these small rituals of self-connection. She reads her favorite mystery novels out loud, voices the characters, and sometimes laughs so hard she has to pause for breath. She cooks small meals just for herself, omelets sprinkled with herbs from her garden, or soup simmering with garlic and love. She sets the table, lights a candle, and whispers grace before eating. I don't make meals to fill time, she says softly. I make them to remind myself that I still matter. Modern research backs her up. A 2025 Stanford Center for Longevity study found that older adults who practice daily solo rituals, reading aloud, journaling, or talking kindly to themselves, show 40% higher emotional stability and self-esteem than those who don't. Learning to be your own companion, experts say, is one of the most powerful emotional transitions of aging. It's not about replacing relationships, it's about rediscovering yourself within them. June used to think companionship only came from family visits or phone calls. Now, she finds it in her reflection, in moments of quiet acknowledgement that she's still here, still growing, still capable of joy. There's beauty in that kind of self-respect. It's not loud, it's not performative, it's steady. Like the rhythm of a heart that's learned to beat for its own sake. It's not about living without others, June says with a smile, turning down the music. It's about realizing I was enough all along. Living alone after 65 doesn't mean being forgotten. It means learning to be found, by yourself. What's one small thing you do that makes your day feel brighter, even when you're alone? Share it in the comments. You never know who your story might help. As the video draws to a close, we see the gentle rhythm of June Merriweather's life, the soft hum of a kettle, the creak of a rocking chair, the golden light streaming through lace curtains. Her home feels alive, not because of noise, but because of meaning. Let's take a moment to reflect. The freedom to live by your own rhythm. The beauty of decorating for one. The joy of choosing company, not just accepting it. The creativity that blooms when life quiets down. And finally, the serenity that comes from realizing you are enough. These aren't just habits, they're victories. Quiet ones. Personal ones. Proof that growing older doesn't mean fading away. It means refining what matters. June gazes out her window at the evening sky, the world calm and still. She whispers, almost to herself. This isn't loneliness. This is peace, the kind I built myself. That line captures everything this chapter of life is about. Not the absence of people, but the presence of peace. Not waiting for permission to live, but choosing to thrive. So if June's story touched your heart, if it reminded you that independence is not the opposite of love, but another way of showing it, then take a moment right now. Hit the like button. Share this video with someone who needs hope. And subscribe to Elderly Dose, where aging isn't something we fear, it's something we honor. Because here, we celebrate living, at every age, in every season, in every heartbeat that still chooses joy. Up next, 9 things every independent senior does differently in 2025. You'll want to see this one, it just might change how you think about aging forever.